A boss mom doesn't allow society to tell her that her goals no longer matter. She handles her business both inside and outside of the home. Welcome to the Bawse Mom Movement Podcast with me, your host, Ashley White, where you'll hear me speak with millennial moms who have not allowed the title mom to stop them from achieving their goals. During this podcast series, we'll discuss how we balance it all and other mom-related topics. It's a space for all my bossy mamas, whether you're an entrepreneur, mama in corporate, or both. Being a boss mom isn't easy, but it's our lifestyle. So with that being said, all right, boss moms, let the movement begin. Hey moms, it's Ashley here from the Bawse Mom Movement, here to invite you to join me in the Bawse Mom Mastermind group. This is a small group that I've created to help us as like-minded women and moms just accomplish our goals. We'll meet on a monthly basis, but you also have the opportunity to have a community at your fingertips as you'll be invited to a private sectioned off group where we'll just be able to discuss on a daily basis different goals that we have for the month and just keep each other motivated and accountable. In addition to that, you will receive a special discount on merchandise and upcoming events. So like I said, join the Bawse Mom Mastermind group. The link is in my bio. And let's just build this community and check off these goals and keep each other accountable. So I hope to see you ladies there. Hey, Boss Moms. Welcome back for another episode of the Bawse Mom Movement Podcast. You are here for episode 10. This is the last episode for season 4. So we have made it to the finish line. And today we're discussing teen mom turned success with content creator and podcast host LaWanna Moses. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be the one on the last episode for season 4. That's pretty cool.
I know, right? So we got to go out with a bang. We got to make sure this one is juicy because we will be going on a pause before season 5 drops. So I am excited to talk about this topic and learn more about your journey as you became a teen mom and you have turn the tables around. I know oftentimes like teen moms get looked at like you're pretty much done for. Like I hate that stigma. Like that is just such a negative light to put on someone's life. So I am going to turn over the mic to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, everyone. So my name is LaWann Moses, and I am a content creator and podcast host these days. I used to do so much more, but now I have condensed it to content creator and podcast host. I have a podcast, the More Than a Mother podcast, where I uplift, educate, and empower moms on their business and motherhood ventures. Then I'm also a content creator specializing in TikToks and Instagram Reels, and I do that for myself. And then I also create content for brands. So that is what I am doing these days. I am a wife, a mom of 3. My kids are 21, 14, and 12. And yeah, I'm just out here living my best life.
I know that's right.
And loving it.
So let's, before we get, because I want to end with what you're doing now and how you got to your success. So let's turn the clock back and let's go back to when you had your first child as a teen. How was that experience? Like just walking into motherhood at such a young age?
Well, as I tell people, I literally went from being a teenager with no responsibilities to someone's mother overnight. And yeah, I know there's 9-10 months of pregnancy, but in the grand scheme of things, you go from, I got pregnant as a high school senior. Okay. And so I had my son the November after I graduated high school. But in that time, it was like I had plans to go to college. I hadn't applied to any colleges that were in my state. So I had plans to go to college, like all these different plans. It's like, okay, while all my friends were preparing to go to college, I was preparing to be somebody's mom. And that's the best way that I can describe it. Of course, it wasn't planned, just being young and in love and all those things. And you just grow up too fast is what I really say now. Right. But it really thrust me into a world that was unknown for me. That's probably the best way I can say it, because I was blessed to grow up 2-parent household. Never really wanted for anything, needed anything, etc. But becoming a mom back then it wasn't, as I tell people now, you're really blessed these days to be able to stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26 years old, whether you get married, whatever happens, have a child, you can still stay on their insurance. But back then there was none of that. So as soon as you had a child, it's like, you're an adult, so you got to figure it out for yourself.
What?
I had to get my own insurance. It was crazy back then.
No way.
It was. I had to I couldn't be on my parents' health insurance anymore. So of course I had to go get on state assistance. All those different things. I was thrust into this world of really poverty, to say, because I became a teen mom, and all the things that you kind of have the privilege of as a child, you didn't really have back then. And my parents and family was still very supportive. But in the grand scheme of life in the world, you're an adult with a child. So now you have to figure it out. So I was thrust into this really unknown world of government assistance, dealing with systems, dealing with people. And as you said, there was that stigma of, you're a teen mom, your life is over. And that's just what the message was. I don't know if it's so much still there today, but I know back then it was like, you become a teen mom, you're going to be poor forever. Your life is over. You're not reaching your goals. Basically, just this is what your life is going to be. You're going to be stuck on assistance forever. Deal with it.
Right.
And I knew in my mind that nothing was going to stop me from reaching my goals at all. That was just where I was. I was still going to go to college. I was still going to be successful. But that didn't come without lots of trials and tribulations. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Right. No, I definitely hear you on that. And I'm not sure either if that's still like the stigma. I feel like it's definitely, I don't know the statistics around whether or not we have more teen moms now than back then. But honestly, I just feel like the whole teenage lifestyle is so different than what it used to be anyway. So I really don't know. But you did mention a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. So number one, that's great that you had a great support system, because that was one of my questions. Like, what was your parents' reaction and your family? Like, and what did that support look like? Because I know it does look different for everyone. But then also you mentioned the government assistance. So like, were you provided any resources? I know your family was supportive and probably helpful, but were there any resources to kind of help guide you through those processes? Because I can only imagine like being a teenager trying to figure out like, what does this stuff exactly even mean?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't anything to guide me through it. I was blessed to have a very supportive family, and I've married my child's father. So my husband is the father of all my children. So that's another story for another day, how we got there. But in the grand scheme of life, we did wind up back together and married. So, I mean, I was very blessed in that aspect of it. So in navigating things, I relied on my mom a lot to help me with figuring things out, taking me down to figure out which paperwork to fill out. And honestly, I really got a good social worker for my first ever experience on the system. She was very helpful with resources, and especially in this social work atmosphere, dealing with government benefits, there are a lot of stressed and overworked people, high caseloads. But I had a really good caseworker who kind of understood the situation and kind of walked me through things. So I feel like even though it was an unexpected situation, things were still kind of lining up. Right. And the pieces were coming together, because the experience could have been totally different. But there was no guidance. There was no, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Like I remember after having my son and I moved out on my own, I wanted to put him in daycare. So I had to get daycare assistance called Purchase of Care in Delaware. So I had to get daycare assistance. And I remember calling to get the daycare assistance, and it's like, oh, you can't get daycare assistance because you're not working. I'm like, but I'm starting school. Right. I'm like, but I'm in college. Right. Yeah, but you can't have assistance unless you have a job. So that was really like my first peek into how the system works and how it's designed to keep people oppressed and keep people on the system. So that was another thing. Like, I'm not going to depend on this system my whole life. Whatever I got to do, we are going to figure it out. Because that was really the window. Like, how can you give me assistance for daycare if I'm working? But if I'm trying to go to school to better myself so that I don't have to rely on the system, how come I can't get help? And then it was like, okay, the more money you made, I think back then I was probably making like $7 an hour or something like that. But the more money you made and the more hours you worked, then everything went up in price. So it's really designed to keep you on that system. And it's not designed for you to get off of it. So it really takes having a support system, having the knowledge, and really just the kind of, I guess, grit or determination to fight through those hard days so that you can make it. Because it's so easy to give up and say, oh, I'm just going to accept being on this system because if I make $20 extra or something, then they raise my rent or something by $100 something. Or it's like the solution is to have another child because then you get more benefits or everything is lower. So that's just how a peek into how the system works.
Right.
So that became my kind of, again, motivating source. And as I'm doing this, just keeping notes and how I'm going to navigate this, how I'm going to be successful, because I'm like, this is not my life. This is not my end game. I don't know how I'm going to make it out, but this isn't my end game.
Right. That is so crazy. Like, I knew the system was messed up, but that doesn't even make sense. Like, okay, you don't want to support me trying to get a better job to support my child and, you know, my family. Like, oh, that just pisses me off. Like, every time I hear something crazy about the government, like,
it's wild. I would never, if I wasn't in it, I would have never believed it. But the more things, I'm just like, wow, this is really designed to keep you here.
It really is.
If you don't have the support, if you don't have a little bit of something, determination or whatever inside of you, it's so easy to be like, okay, I'm just going to stay here because it's easier. Me trying to navigate and do better for myself strips me of my benefits. So then I'm struggling to feed my kids or pay my rent or pay all my bills. Because if I make too much, they taking all this stuff away. So then you stuck in that part to where you make enough so that you are doing okay, but you don't make enough to pay bills fully. So how do they keep you stuck? You reduce your hours so that you can get that full assistance again. It's a crazy system.
That's crazy. And then it's just like in certain situations, like luckily you were, you know, strong enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to let that stop me from, you know, going to school. But somebody else may come to that same situation and they'll be like, okay, I don't know now, you know, contemplating back and forth. Well, maybe I should drop out of school and get this job so that I can get the assistance and then, you know, put school on the back burner or never go at all. So it puts you in those uncompromising situations to just say, okay, what do I need to do? Because a lot of times it's hard to see the future. You know where you want to go, but it's hard to see how you're going to get there. And it's just like you kind of stuck in the now. Okay, what do I need right now to be successful and to get what I need, you know, to support my family? So I, you know, definitely commend you for not allowing that to deter you from the route you were going to better yourself for you and your family. So I know that took probably a lot and maybe a hard decision in that moment to even make.
Yeah, and it definitely took a lot. And I just want to be honest with everyone. Listen, I didn't always have this positive attitude. So let me just put that out there. I can talk about it now. I wrote a book about it now and all that. Okay, but going back into all of that, I was not this happy person that had it all figured out. I knew that I was going to make it. I knew that I wanted to be successful, but then life happens. And life has a way of catching a hold of your thoughts to where you start doubting yourself. So I was working the bare minimum amount of hours just so I could have assistance to put my child in daycare. And then I was trying to go to school too. But then here I am at this university and it's all these college kids. And I'm like, I have nothing in common with these college kids. I'm working. I have a child. I'm working. And then I'm coming here and I'm here with all these carefree college kids while I'm thinking about my responsibilities. So then you start doubting life. Like, why did this happen to me? Why did I make this choice? X, Y, and Z. And so I wound up in a bout of depression. And at a time there, I was feeling hopeless. Like, even though I knew what my end goals were, it was so much mess in front of it that I really was in this hopeless state. And I always tell this story and I'm going to share it with everyone now because this is what changed my life and put me on the path to success of what you see today. Okay. I had got to a point where I was so depressed and I was really like, okay, I can't live anymore. I was just had the thought, son will be better without me. I wasn't with my husband at that time. So he was my child's father back then. My child's father would be better without me. My family, like those are all the things. I'm such a disappointment. I was this great honor student who did X, Y, and Z. Now look at my life. All those thoughts were going through my mind. And I dropped my son off at daycare one day and I'm like, you know what? This is it. I left his car seat. I kissed him goodbye. I'm like, this is it. I'm not going to see him no more. I don't want to be here anymore. I can't do this. He'll be better off without me. And I always say, I went back to my apartment. This time I stayed in the dark a lot. Like the dark was my happy place. I slept all the time. And I'm glad that I had the son that I did. He was a toddler, probably like 2 or 3 at this time. So he was good about everything. But I dropped him off, went back to the apartment, and I laid on the couch and I fell asleep. And while I was asleep, my son appears to me in this dream. And all I hear him say is, "Don't go, mommy, I need you." And I jumped up off that couch and I started looking around like, okay, I know I'm here by myself.
Right.
What is going on? But I tell people that was that divine intervention right there. It was me in that subconscious sleep. And it was like, no, you may not see it and you may feel like your life is all messed up. But to this little boy right here, you are everything. So if you don't have enough inside of you to live, then you do it for that little boy that looks at you every day. So my son, that's where I developed that determination because I'm like, I don't have enough in myself. So I used him as that determination. I'm going to make it out of this. We're going to figure this out. I went to therapy, got help and all of that, but I'm going to figure this out for him because I had him and he needed me. So that was really set the path for my determination to become successful and get up out of that situation even more.
That's a great story. And it's so true. Like even, not being a teen mom, just being a mom in general, like having those type of thoughts, I honestly feel like can hit you at any point of motherhood, those feelings of defeat and just feeling like, okay, all odds are against me right now. Like, what am I going to do? Because I know I have those stressful moments as well. And I look at my baby and I'm just like, you know what, this is for you. And one day it's all going to pay off. Like, so I definitely agree with you saying like that divine intervention, like that you needed that tap on the shoulder from your baby to let you know, like, mama, keep going. We gonna make this. We gonna make it through together.
And like you just said, that's what I tell moms these days, that it doesn't have to be a story that extreme. As you just said it, if you can't find that motivation, any mom that's listening, whatever your situation is, if you don't have that motivation inside of you, just know that let your kids be your motivation, because you may feel guilty. You may feel like you failing them. You may have all these thoughts, but to those kids, you are the best person in the world out here reaching your goals or whatever you are doing. So if you don't have it inside of you, just look at those kids, because those are your reason. Let that be your determination and motivation if you can't find it inside.
Absolutely. And now look at you. You got 2 more, that are keeping you motivated. And now you're able to tell the story to help motivate others. So that's amazing. And I mean, it's definitely sad that you had to go through something like that, but it ultimately, helped develop who you are today. So it's just crazy what some things that we actually have to go through to be the person that we were meant to be. Like,
that's true. And that's what I tell people. If I wouldn't have went through that, I probably would not be who I am today. So just certain things in life, I feel have to happen. They develop character. Experience is life's teacher. Experience develops character. And that was character building. I mean, that was me learning how to do hard, because I was fortunate to never have to know how to do hard.
Right.
And that was this is what the real world is like, so to speak. And you learn to navigate. And unfortunately, I learned at a young age to navigate. So then as I got older and encountered other hardships and obstacles and challenges, it's like, oh, okay, I've been here before. I've done more.
This is it.
Right. This is it. Okay. I'm going to do what I did back then.
Exactly.
And we're going to make it through. So each time I encounter something, it's like, oh, I did this. Okay, I got this too.
Right. Exactly. So I know you mentioned, you had the plans of going to college. You didn't necessarily apply to any school because you were preparing for motherhood. But what was your, your dream growing up and what you thought your success would be?
Well, I honestly thought that I would do like everybody else, go through high school, graduate, go away to college, go get bachelor's degree. Back then, I think I wanted to be a psychologist. So it's kind of crazy because now I'm in this like coaching podcast kind of space with people. It's still like you're listening to people's problems and all those kind of things.
Exactly.
I think I wanted to be a psychologist back then. So I planned on getting a bachelor and master, then probably a doctorate, because that's what you needed to be a psychologist, psychiatrist. I think that's what it was. That was my plan, just to keep going straight through school. And I was going to be this psychologist, psychiatrist, something like that.
Right.
Which I'm kind of grateful I didn't, because then I realized as I got older that I don't know if I want to actually sit in an office and have people come in and I listen to their problems all day, every day. I mean, I do that now, but to just be in that one space and do that, I'm not sure if I really wanted to do that. But that was if my life would have went as I was planning it, that's probably what I'd be doing right now.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy that you say that, because I studied psychology thinking the same thing, wanted to be a therapist, graduated college and said, not so much. And to your point, sitting there just listening to people's problems in that one room, I don't think it's for me, but I found another way of doing it, like you said. So that's crazy that you even say that. So what ended up being your success?
So, that is there are levels to this.
Yes. Let us know.
I did wind up, I took the extended route through college. So I did the 7-year bachelor's degree program. I did wind up getting a bachelor's degree in psychology. And then I wound up going to get a master's in the administration of justice. And I wound up working in the criminal justice field for the past X amount of years. I already told my age in the beginning, because I told you how old my son was, and everybody's doing the math already. But so I work by day, I work in the criminal justice field, and I assist victims of crime. That is what I do by day. And then in my spare time, that is where I do my podcast hosting, my content creation, my coaching services, all of that. So that is what my path looks like now. That is what my success turned out to be. Which, I mean, I'm grateful for it, because when I think about life of just being a psychiatrist, psychologist, I'm like, I probably have a really boring, dull life right now. Nothing against psychiatrists and psychologists. There are some great ones out there, but just thinking about my life path and how if everything went according to how I thought it was going to be, I'd probably be a very boring person right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think about that too sometimes. Like, what if I would have just enrolled in that counseling master's program? Like, what would life be? I don't know, but I'm glad I didn't choose that route, and I'm in therapy. So, I love my therapist, but
it's something for everyone. Sure. There are lots of great, like I said, therapists, psychiatrists, all that. Yes, there are people that are meant for that, but I just realized that is not meant for me.
Exactly. Not my calling, and that is okay.
But there are some great ones out there that are not boring people at all.
Right. So what interests you in being a content creator and podcast? Like, walk us through how you even got interested in that and how long you've been doing it.
All right. So that's another story. That is another story, which I'm going to sum it up to the best of my ability. So I went through all kind of challenges and obstacles and everything after being a teen mom, all that kind of stuff. Fast forward, had more kids, married, wound up miserable, burnt out, giving myself to everyone. Like, okay, there has to be more to life than this. That's what I started asking myself like in 2013. That put me on the path like this personal development, self-love journey. That's where I really started navigating in the field of creating content with like blogging and all that kind of stuff. That's what existed way back in 2013. So that's what I did then. But the way fast forward into becoming a podcast host and a content creator as it stands today, I would say for the past 5 years or so, I've been in the content creation space in terms of Instagram. I just got on TikTok earlier this year, but Facebook, all that. And I really enjoy creating content, but I was trying to do it and build like a coaching business, all that. But I realized that's not me. I still will coach people, but that's like, to me, psychology and all that. And I'm like, I'm realizing that's not me. Why do I keep trying to force it?
Yeah.
But my podcast came about because in 2019, I found out I had MS. So I was diagnosed with MS in 2019. This was after having an episode that put me in the hospital. My whole left side was not paralyzed, but I lost feeling in my whole left side. I had 5 days in the hospital, which is a crazy series of events. The end diagnosis wound up being MS. And in that time when I had to come home and recover, I couldn't be anything but myself. So the lights would bother me, TV, movement. I couldn't even go into the kitchen, get a cup of water without getting dizzy and getting a headache. So in that time, I was forced to be myself. Couldn't be a wife, couldn't be a mom, couldn't take care of anybody. Everybody had to take care of me. And in that time, it came to me that I'm forced to be LaWann, and LaWann is more than a mother. And that is where the podcast was born. So this is what I've been saying all these years. I've been working towards just the different telling moms about self-love and putting yourself first and prioritizing everything. But it comes down to the fact that as moms, we are more than mothers. So that in there is where my podcast was born. And because podcasting has become the way of the now and the future, it's okay, I thought about going back to blogging. We're people aren't blogging anymore. Everybody's listening to audio. So let's do a podcast. So that's where the podcast came from. And I started just empowering moms, and I started bringing moms on the show. As I said, I was going into the coaching space and all that. But I realized that is not my thing. I like creating the content. I like giving people the encouragement, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of building a coaching business, that's not really my thing. I'll do it if somebody really wants it. But I like creating content. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create content. And now there's this thing that I found out about where brands are, because TikTok is now becoming big and Reels are becoming big. Brands are now reaching out to creators to create content for them. So it's called user-generated content. So I'm hey, I've been creating content for 5 years for myself. Well, probably more than 5 years, but we'll count 5 years for myself for free. I can take some of this content that I'm creating for myself, and now I can go out here and find these brands that are looking for people to do TikTok because they don't understand TikTok or do Reels. And now they can pay me to make content that they can use. So that is how I really got into the content creation space and focusing on being a content creator, because I realized that is the part of business that I enjoy the most. And businesses are now paying for content. So I am now a professional content creator and podcast host. So it allows me to create content in 2 different ways.
Absolutely. I love the journey. I definitely agree. It's definitely the now and the future. And social media is just taking over. More brand deals, definitely you'll see them through social media. It kind of makes you wonder, how long commercials are really going to be going, on TV and stuff. I mean, that's great, which people don't even really watch TV that much.
Yeah,
you have your Netflix and stuff like that. But like you said, podcasting is definitely turning up a notch, I would say. I probably started listening to podcasts a few years ago, more so consistent now. But, like you said, audio is the new thing, whether it be a book or a podcast. So I definitely agree with you there. It was something that you had mentioned before when you were talking about your journey. So go back for a second. Explain to us what MS. I didn't want to stop you, but what exactly MS is.
Okay. Yeah, I always talk. And I'm not everybody knows what MS is. So MS is multiple sclerosis. So multiple sclerosis is basically a autoimmune illness, a chronic illness, and it's where your immune system attacks the healthy cells in your body. They don't know why that happens or what causes it. It's still, in the grand scheme of illnesses, it's fairly new. It's been around for a good number of years, but when you think about science and research and all that, it's fairly a new kind of illness thing.
Gotcha.
In terms of research and figuring out what happens. But yeah, it's basically just my immune system recognizes my body as foreign, or cells in my body as foreign. And the same way when you get a cold, it kind of attacks the cold in your body. It does that to the healthy cells in my body. So that is what MS is. And so I'm on a treatment now that suppresses my immune system. That's how they treat MS, because there is no cure. But they have medications that suppress your immune system. So in that way, your immune system doesn't attack your body, and it can help kind of delay you getting more and more disabilities.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I had heard MS before, but I was okay, what exactly is it? And I'm it might be somebody else out there that needs a breakdown like me.
Yeah, so. There are people. Yeah, there are. And it's amazing because I incorporate that into my content now. bringing more of my MS journey into it. And then I always forget that not everybody knows what MS is. And
I think I hear it in my mind because I think it's a commercial that comes on about it. So
there are lots of commercials that come out. I never realized how many MS commercials there were until I got it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it seems like there are so many commercials. One of those things where you start to pay attention once it's brought to your attention. So yeah, and there are people that don't know. So you're not the first one that's asked, like, what is MS?
Yeah. So during that time, I definitely can see, you know, when you said you have no choice but to be you, right? And so I think a lot of times we do forget, because we wear these multiple hats, you know, who we really are and the things that we enjoy, because I'm too busy worried about what other people enjoy and how I can assist in their happiness and so forth. So I like how you were, you know, honest and transparent about that. So let's talk about your podcast. I think that's a great name for starters, and just like subject matter anyways, to just talk about how we are more than mothers. So what are some of the topics that you've touched on your show?
On my podcast, we talk just about anything, and it's a lot of it's real life. So I have guests on, and then I do solo episodes. A lot of my solo episodes are me giving tips on moms on like how to practice self-care, be productive, me sharing like some rough moment that I may have went through and a lesson that I learned from that. Just different variety of episodes. Then with my interviews, I tend to bring on moms and have them share their stories. So whether they're working moms, business owners, whatever it is, I bring on moms because I believe in story. If you can't tell, I believe in storytelling. I feel like there's so much power when you share your story. You help to empower others. So I like to bring on moms and talk about, kind of as we did here, go back to what was that moment in your life that kind of put you on that path that you're on today. So we kind of walk through their story. And then if they have an area of expertise, like I just did an episode earlier today that was all about talking to our kids about sex and making it not such a taboo subject. Okay. And then I have moms that give business tips, home tips, just all kind of things to really try and touch as many moms as possible, because moms is a big term. There are so many different types of moms, and all of us are more than moms. And the overall goal of the show is to share how we are. Mom is one part of our role, one part of our identity. It's not our full identity. It's a role that we have, but then also in navigating this mom life, we're able to pursue our dreams, pursue our goals, do things that make us happy. So that is what the goal of my podcast is to show anyone and that may be listening that there are moms that you can relate to on different aspects. And I bring on moms from all different backgrounds, because you never know who can relate to who. And if they just hear like, okay, oh, this person's story sounds similar to mine and look what they're doing, then that gives them kind of that motivation. So that's the overall goal, is just to really show that as a mom, the sky is the limit. You can be unstoppable. Absolutely. Motherhood does not have to define you.
Right. And I hate that the world makes it seem like that. It's kind of similar to the teen mom stigma. Like, okay, once you become a mom, you pretty much got to give up everything. And that was something that even motivated me to start my own podcast too, because I'm like, okay, I did kind of have that thought, like, how am I going to check off X, Y, and Z, right? Because I am a mom, and how is life going to change for me? Because in a sense, I mean, it still does change, but you just have to learn how to change with it and figure out things in a different way. So, I love it. And like you said earlier, you never really realize how much things are being put out there until you step into it. So like before I stepped into motherhood, I, of course, was not listening to mommy podcasts. I wasn't in any mommy groups. And now that I'm a part of the motherhood journey and tribe, I'm like, it's so many everywhere, but I feel like it's so good though, because it's just like constant reminders for moms and to hear from different women and their different experiences, whether they are similar to something you may have heard before. But just that constant reminder, I think is definitely great for all moms to just know, like, we are more than that title. mother, and you are still who you are before you became a mom. So
exactly. As I tell people, your name was whatever it is. Fill in the blank. Always tell people your name was, like I say, I was LaWann before anybody ever called me mom. And that's what we have to remember. And as you said, society does such a great job of, you're a mom, you should be focusing on your kids. But nobody ever asks dads, where are your kids? Who's watching your kids? Nobody doesn't ask. Nobody asks dads that, but they ask moms that all the time. So it's really breaking that and saying, okay, yeah, we may be mothers, but guess what? We can be XYZ also.
And I just love how times have changed too. It's more moms wanting to do more, whether it be in their 9-to-5 or starting that business, as opposed to nothing wrong. And let me put this out there. I have nothing against stay-at-home moms, but I do love to still see that women are accomplishing their goals and doing what makes them happy. And if being a stay-at-home mom is what makes you happy, then girl, go right on ahead, But if you do have those goals and maybe that job opportunity that you want, like, I don't feel like motherhood should stop you from pursuing any of that. So I love it. I'm always here for the empowerment movement for women and moms. Earlier, you said you had a book, or you told your journey, your story. Let us know the name of the book, where we can find it, and then we'll roll into how we can find you and connect with you.
Okay, so my book is called Rising Above Statistics, How to Overcome Obstacles and Achieve Success Against All Odds. So basically, I tell my story as a teen mom turned success, and I walk you through the very beginning all the way up through getting the degrees and graduating. But then inside of that, with me telling the stories, I have little exercises that you can do, whether you don't have to be a young mom, just as a person in general, things to help you kind of like rewrite your life script, forgiveness, just different empowerment exercises for different parts of your life, because there are things that we don't realize impact us. So it's just little steps that I took. There's 10 of them. There are steps that I took to achieve my success, and I am sharing the story, the activity, and what I kind of learned from it to kind of walk you through your own type of success stories that you can feel empowered to go out there and just be determined. Say from depressed to determined. That's what I was. So be determined and be successful.
Okay. And
you can find it on Amazon. So I forgot that.
Okay. All right. And that's coaching in a book. Yeah, essentially,
it really is.
So I love that. And then as far as your social handles, and if you have a website, how can the audience find you in those areas?
So you can connect with me. I hang out mostly now on TikTok and Instagram, more so TikTok, but all of my social handles, and I have them all: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all of them. They're all at LaWann Moses. So I'm very easy to find. Just my name at LaWann Moses. And then my website is LaWannMoses.com. So if you type in my name, you can pretty much find me anywhere.
Okay. Yes. For the consistency. Well, I enjoyed the conversation with you and just learning about your journey and how you were able to beat the odds and beat those obstacles and have the success that you do today. So again, congrats to you for making it through, because not everyone or not all females do. And like we said, like, you're balancing it. You do have a 9-to-5, a content creator, and so it can be done. So ladies, I hope you were able to take away some gems from LaWann today and just remain motivated. And I appreciate you. So thank you again for coming on tonight. And as I always leave you ladies, stay bossy and stay motivated. And this is season 4, episode 10. We are done, ladies. We're heading over to season 5. So I appreciate you for connecting and staying a subscriber of the show. And I will see you all next season. Hey, ladies, if you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can find the Bawse Mom Movement streaming on Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Want to keep up with the movement? Visit my website at thebawsemommovement.com and subscribe. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you next time.